My name's Chris.
And I'm Kristie.
This is the Washing Up Podcast, and we just thought we'd do a bit of a bonus chat, like leading into Italian week.
I know, because there's a lot to talk about with Italy.
I mean, first of all, we went to dinner last night.
And we had
Italian food project.
And they made hot cross buns because, you know, it's not quite January, not quite April. It's the perfect
But they
time.
were beautiful because they were Nutella.
Yes.
And pistachio.
And like the actual...
We've got a phone call for the... This is the first one ever. We're not a call-in show.
Where did we get the phone from?
Who the hell knows to ring? Oh, hang on a minute. We'll just answer it.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi, this is Anjali, long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yay! Hey, Anjali. How you going?
Oh, good. That was my first bit ever.
Oh,
Yes.
Well done. And you did it so well. The timing was sensational. So, no, this is really awesome for us. Like, this is really cool.
It
This is awesome for me. I feel like we're friends.
Oh,
I
yes.
think we are.
Well, we are.
We
but,
are. You know, we're drinking together.
I assumed we were
We're-
friends. We were cheering very loudly in the first couple of episodes. So and we were
That's
heartbroken.
my friend Anjali.
And we were heartbroken. So, you know. You and Larry, by the way, you could have separated that out.
Just, you know,
I think that would have been more considerate
Oh,
for you two.
just a wee bit.
range of emotion.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So first of all, it is fantastic to finally have you on the podcast.
Thank you. I'm thrilled to be here.
Yeah, so it's for those who are sort of going, what the hell? We've been interacting with Anjali for a while now. It's been
She's
a while.
Twitter fam.
Yeah, well, she's Insta fam.
Insta fam. Well, you know, I'm good with the socials. You could be like sending me pigeons, and I wouldn't know. Like, you know, like old-fashioned Twitter.
Why aren't people sending
with
us
actual
pigeons?
tweets?
People need to send us pigeons.
I will send you a pigeon.
Just not one of your bloody Canadian geese.
Oh, no. Horrible pictures.
You do that and you'll find a buffhead cockatoo on its way to you. Ready to...
Oh, is that your equivalent? That's your bird that poops all over the playgrounds?
That's the ibis.
Okay, so we've got ibises, which we call bin chickens because they're always bin diving. So because they got I think they're from Victoria, like a state further down south, and someone decided to bring them up to Sydney, and they acclimatized really well and left the wetlands that they were popped into and have just spread across Sydney. So they're very good at bin diving. They've got these big long beaks and whatever else. So that's the bin chicken. Then you've got cockatoos who get in gangs, and they're like pretty, like they're white birds with the yellow crest on their head. But they kind of get an attitude like, you owe me, bitch. And if you don't, like, I have to keep feeding them, otherwise they're eating our house and pulling it apart.
It's very much like a mafia shakedown the way they operate.
Wow.
And then you got the beautiful
you know,
magpie.
I do think when I've never been to Australia. I'm assuming we will all hang out someday.
Absolutely.
That's the plan.
In Australia City. But I imagine it being full of animals ready to tear you and your house apart.
Yes.
True.
And there's magpies. If you come in September, it's their breeding season and they get very protective. So they'll swoop you to the point where like kids riding to school will wear helmets.
But helmets
But
is
not
helmets is a good thing. But what is unusual about the wearing of the helmets is they've got cable ties, and you actually tie. This is not a joke. We are not. Look, this is not drop bears. Okay, drop bears is a joke. Gonna say that straight up. But magpies aren't. And what people do is they tie cable ties to the top of their helmet that point straight up with the plastic, because magpies will swoop and dive and attack even on the helmet. So you have to put these cable ties up to stop them, because they realise they can't go near it. And that's not a joke. Kids will wear ice cream containers on their heads when they're walking. Not a joke. Not just real.
It's not every kid walking.
Just don't know what to believe. But you'll have to tell Maggie if you ever get to chat to Maggie.
Yeah, that's the plan. I know, her magpie bakery.
Yeah. I think she needs to know about this. And
she does need to know.
Into a logo.
In Australia, I think, you know, she'd be very popular, except for like September.
Yeah,
at which point no one's going to the bakery because, you know, they're worried about it. But no, we've obviously been interacting for a while, and it was so joyous when we saw that you actually finally managed to get in.
I know, right?
So
What a joy.
I know on a scale of 1 to 10.
So, I mean, beyond. I couldn't even. I mean, so they released that clip of all of us as we heard we were going to be on the show, and I just, because you know how sometimes you can visualize yourself in a place and you're like, this will happen and I will be there.
Yep.
I never could quite visualize myself in the tent. I thought it was just like I was an auditioner and I loved the audition process and I thought it was wonderful. So I thought, okay, this is what I do. I like take my week every year and bake something and go see my producer friends and eat everyone's awesome bakes, and then I go back to my regular life, and I was truly stunned to get on this year. It was a complete joy.
Will you just do the audition process next year just to to keep the tradition going?
Larry and Maggie and I, because they just announced season 5, and we're all like, wait, do we not apply this year? Because we thought we applied every year.
Yeah, well, I'm sure you can just apply again and go, look,
yes.
We know you can't take us, but we will feel lost if
we were told we could apply, but we could not be on.
Exactly. I think you just all need to maintain the ritual.
Yeah. The thing that's too bad this year, and hopefully they'll bring us back in a future year, is in the past, the past bakers got to go to the auditions.
Yep.
Which I think was really fun, and they got to taste everyone's stuff and say hi and take photos and whatnot. And we don't get to do that this year, but I'm hoping at some point in the future I will get to eat again in the Culinary Academy in Etobicoke, where they do the local audition.
I mean, I'd also suggest that there's obviously they did the Christmas special the other year. I mean, I'm sure you can suggest a number of option specials that you can be on just to sort of get yourself back in there. I do think that I would be awesome on a Christmas special. My pitch at this point is auditioned 4 times, got kicked off in episode 2. Bring me back for a Christmas special. Miracle.
I will make more funny faces on TV. I'll be great. So
look, I've got an idea.
That's my pitch.
We do an Easter special where we resurrect people.
Yes. I mean, Birdie's in too.
Exactly.
100%.
And then we can have
Pierre
and a few other people that went too early. Gone too soon.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a 2-day special.
I think it'll be awesome. Well, what's his name? I can't remember what this young man's name is on British. He was just on the British, one of the 2 specials this year.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, that guy went pretty early. And he went in episode 2. So there's no precedent. The guy with the little blonde tips.
Oh, yes. Yes. So that's precedent now.
The footballer.
Precedent.
Is he the twin?
Yes, the twin.
Yes.
The twin.
Oh, I can see his face. I can't think of his name.
I wish I could remember his name, which is not a good sign for my notoriety in Canada.
No, but that's what you want. You want them to go, that one, the one who went home in like episode 2 in Canadian. That one. Right. I want to see her again because I don't remember her name, but I want to see her.
That's what I mean. The Easter special.
Exactly.
With Anjali.
Am I going to be?
I'm blasphemous though, aren't I? Like, I don't know. Someone will write in and tell me.
Yeah.
Someone will send me a pigeon.
It's not our wheelhouse, to be honest. So, anyway, first of all, it was really good to get to see you go in there. What we asked this one of everybody. It's our one generic question we will ask. What is it like the first time you start the walk up to?
Oh my God! I mean, I think it was unbelievable. It was like being in a magical place. The tent is pavilion to you. It is beautiful, and it was it was a scorching hot day, but it was a nice sunny day, and just walking up there with this group of people who we've already connected, we're already friends, like it was a total dream.
That's the other constant in this podcast. Whenever we talk about Canadian, it was a really hot day. And
Bread week was cold, cake week was hot. Not what you want, but
not what you're after.
No, a flip would have been helpful.
Yeah, a switch would have really been useful for a lot of people there.
Yes, just I could imagine like just the proving drawers just didn't need it. Or was it proofing?
Well, that would have been that would have been nice. But we did need it that day for bread, because it was cooler in the tent that day. But the buttercream melting,
I
that
was going to say,
horror show of a technical in
I was
Cake Week.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I mean, for a start, trying to do a mirror glaze in a sauna is not ideal.
It isn't, in fact, ideal. Yeah, it was really hard. I mean, the thing that I could say is that I had, whenever we were baking, I just was having the most fun I've ever had in my life. It was just delightful. And even when, like, there's so many things went wrong that you don't see, that I've been stressing about seeing on TV for a long time, and then we're not there, and I was like, oh, this is so much better than I thought it was going to be. But you know, just quantities of things went wrong, partly due to heat or stress or nerves, whatever. But I was always like, this is so much fun, even as this buttercream is completely not working. Like, I'm so happy to be here in the tent with these people. So, right, the judging was not so great. I'm not that excited about being judged, but the baking was wonderful.
Like, the show's fantastic as long as no one's telling me this isn't very good.
That's right.
So when you
That's exactly it.
When you walked into the pavilion, were there moments of like I should just not were there? What were the moments where you kind of went, oh my God, it's the paddles on the wall, or it's this particular decoration, or I mean,
Yeah,
that's Bruno.
yeah, the judges, seeing the judges for the first time for sure was a real. It's just, you're like, but I see you on TV. Are you real people? I mean, I don't think I had a sense being there that I was on a TV show. It was just, even though there were cameras everywhere, it was just, you were there, you did your bake, you talked to people, and it was really fun. But it's a beautiful space.
yeah,
It really is. Like, yeah, it looks the way it looks. It feels very magical in there.
Did you get to wander around the grounds and like spy cardinals?
No, we were chaperoned around like kindergartners.
They were worried about them walking onto other CBC productions. Like, they didn't want them in the background of the rest of the CBC filming schedule.
I'm imagining like 2 lines, and because you can't hold hands, like you have to hold like a handkerchief or something between you to.
You know, it's a long rope, like they're all in kindergarten, and they're like, "Come on, everybody, if you got
actually,
on the rope."
They should consider that in future. But we did sort of sprint from place to place, and then wait for a bit, and then sprint around in groups and wait. But they did not want us wandering. There were, however, families, small children, and dogs just wandering around,
It's like they've got
staring at us, pointing,
Well,
saying, you know.
Well, that's
What-
like with Australian Bake Off when it's filmed. It's a public park, so like they're filming, and then like there's people just strolling just across the background, just
Yeah, for
just
sure.
across the background. There's dogs and there's people walking past, going, "Oh, what's going on over there?"
Something smells good.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw on, I think on Twitter one day, someone had posted, look, I found the tent, and tagged it, and we're like, yeah, we saw you earlier.
Yeah, look, I found the tent, and I'm like, in the opening of the show, they tell you where it is.
It's true.
There's no hiding. Like,
I know, it is not secret, and next year I'm going to go wander.
yeah, you're walking past, you know, like with your showstopper from week 2 again, going, look.
Look, yeah, Bruno, come taste this one.
Can we do it again? Can we do it again?
I can do it. I will make it taller. I will make it grander. Honestly, showstoppers were never going to be my strong suit.
You didn't give us a height definition. There was no height definition.
It was very wide, though. It was wider than anyone else's.
I think the wide open spaces should have got some recognition. I mean,
I think that's
socially
right.
distanced. It was socially distant.
And it was supposed to ward off evil spirits.
Exactly.
Kicked off the show. But my Basque in-laws are really liked it. So, you know, ultimately, if you do something and it makes people in your family happy, it's not really a big loss, right?
So what's the meaning behind the symbol? That's what I wanted to find out. 'Cause, you know.
So, gosh, it's a good question. I probably knew a lot more about it 6 months ago, but it's on. So it's a dried thistle that a lot of people in the Basque Country hang on their doors outside. We actually had one on our door here but it started to curl. I think it just was too cold. So we brought it in. It's just in the door now.
Yeah.
And it is just there to ward off evil spirits, but I'm not sure how this specific thing came to do that.
Okay. No, that's all
And
right.
the word is Ibistilore, which means sunflower, but it's not really from a sunflower, it's from a thistle, which is why it doesn't look like a sunflower at all.
And I mean, if it's from Basque country, then like moving it to Canada, it's going to go, you better believe this is cold.
Yeah.
It's not designed for that.
Kristie, didn't you say you're Basque?
Well,
You have some Basque roots?
Yeah.
yes. So just, you know, when you like start to find out a bit about your genealogy and stuff. So in one of the family groups, they're talking about, oh yeah, we've got Basque heritage. And I'm like, well, can you please like tell me how? But they're like, and then they're just oldies, like, you know, like boomers who are doing the ancestry.com stuff.
Oh yeah.
Like, you just log into this and I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, be more specific. That's right. And I'm also descended from a First Fleet convict. So the things you learn. Yeah, he stole a horse.
I was going to say, was that one of the ones that stole like bread? Because again, bread larceny was apparently the only reason people were sent here, and not the countless murderers.
No, it was the horse.
It's a horse.
He was more hungry than just for bread. I mean, he was 20. He was a growing young lad.
Look, it's a running joke with people, with historians in particular, when we look at the First Fleet stuff. And everyone in Australia who claims to be descended from someone in the First Fleet argues that they were descended from someone who stole a handkerchief or a loaf of bread, because that's, you know, petty larceny, and they're like, oh, wasn't that a travesty? However, the majority
Same is, right? It's noble.
But the majority of people that were sent out here were like murderers and rapists and all of those sorts of things.
That's the
majority.
For the First Fleet because they wanted to settle it, so they sent.
No, there were lots of murderers in there too. There
Okay.
really were. Trust me. So trust me, I'm a historian. But no, there were a mixture of a lot of people who were sent out here going, it's death or Australia. By the way, a lot of them took death.
And that's continued on today. When you're born, they go, look.
Death or Australia.
Death or Australia, you have to make the decision. And I think it's
and Australia has magpies, and they will attack you.
They will attack you. So it might be death anyway, given the number of animals we've got here that might try to kill. But so
your in-laws, do they still live over in Basque country, or?
Yeah, it's only my partner who lives here, and he came 10 years ago.
Wow.
To Canada. Yeah.
Why come to Canada? It's so nice. Oh, I mean, to meet you, obviously.
Why come to Canada? We're talking to the reason.
It's the worst. People do ask him that a lot, but I think the weather there is not great, to be honest. It's very, well, I would say it's very Vancouver. It's kind of like England. Cool, rainy, not so nice. But San Sebastian's, it's beautiful in the summer.
I was going to say, if it's a bit like England, you get your 3 minutes of sunshine a year.
Yeah.
That's enough to get your vitamin D.
You know, I have friends who are Australian who now live over in the UK, and they joke about the barbecue on their balcony, where they break it out for the 5 minutes of sun a year and try to cook everything in the 5 minutes they have before it descends into overcast madness again. So let's start with bread week and work backwards.
Okay.
So we'll start with bread week and work backwards.
And then end on a high.
Yeah. So we'll start. Look, let's start with the technical. Let's start with the pretzel.
Oh, sure.
So I'm easing everyone in.
Okay.
So
thank you. Let's start with the pretzel.
Look at this. I'm not stupid. I'm starting with the pretzel. We're gonna shit sandwich this. Shit sandwich. Start well, finish well. Little bit.
I used to be a teacher.
You know this. You know this. Like so.
I was a teacher in my dream last night.
Yeah, you were. Anyway, so pretzels.
Yes.
So were you happy to see that as the technical?
I was happy because I at least had made pretzels one time.
That's all you need. That's all
I
you
knew
need.
what it was. I had made it one time. We were so perplexed because we could see a giant meter stick poking out from under the cloth, and we were all just like, what can it be? It's pretzels, which is like the least scary thing that could come with a meter stick.
Well, I was intrigued. Obviously, you know, when you're thinking about what they might do, like Bread Week, that we've seen around the world some fascinating technicals they've come up with for Bread Week, and so I'm like, oh, okay, what are they going to give them? The pretzels, and I'm like, that's not bad. That's decent.
It could have been. We were very worried about ciabatta for some reason. That would have been a real beast of a technical.
Ciabatta would have been interesting, like especially. We always say
It
ciabatta.
would have been like 9 of us making flat, horrible pieces of bread. Except for
Listen,
Larry.
the whole reason we say ciabatta,
8 and then one good one.
understand, is Alvin from a couple of years ago, British, who every time he had to make something of free will, he made ciabatta and just kept on saying ciabatta over and over again. And so it's stuck. So I can't see it now without saying ciabatta. I mean, look, that's at least a decent technical. We've seen, obviously, I like to bring up the creme caramel, and like at least you didn't see one of those while you were there.
There was, I think, a fear among our producers that they'd I think maybe had some visual or nightmare of, because we had to hang them, right?
Yes.
Of a lot of underbaked technical pretzels sort of half falling off the little posts.
Yeah.
So certainly, because we didn't have the bake time and we didn't have the rest time, and I think there was some concern in the tent that we were being too casual. So there was some encouraging to move our asses get the things effing baked, but then they all looked great, and I was like, "What? You didn't want good TV?"
No, but they all went really well, but that was like as well. They did the stroopwafel obviously then last week.
I was really sad to not make that. That looked really fun.
But as we pointed out on the podcast last week, stroopwafel was the one in British that wiped the whole season out. Like,
I know, I can still visualize that caramel.
We said in that
You should put that in inverted commas.
yeah,
caramel.
in that podcast of British, when we were talking about the stroopwafel, that was the week that we think the producers changed what they were baking, because after the stroopwafels went down, all of the challenges, they'd been getting a bit harder and getting a bit harder, and the week after stroopwafel they went really basic, and we actually think that after what happened with stroopwafel, they made an adjustment.
Do you know what they're going to do in Canadian, though? They've used this stroopwafel and they've got 2 pathways. And it's like if they do well, they go the hard pathway. And if they do shit, it would go...
I'm not going to lie. You might be right.
Who knows?
About to happen tomorrow.
Who knows?
It's like this week, if it was the easy week, might have been Australian week. They'd be making damper for the technical and a few other really basic recipes. But unfortunately, they got the
That's
hard
why they went
Italian.
Italian week wasn't going to happen, and then they're like, "Oh, it's too easy. Let's make this hard." So, but no, it's been really interesting, obviously, because like when we saw the pretzels, I could sort of see what you're saying. Like, they might get some really misshapen ones. There might be some that are really under.
No holes to hang them on.
Yeah, just like flat bit of bread and
did have to do a bit of a shove with a couple of them.
I really enjoy watching everyone work out how to plait bread. It's one of my favorite things.
I don't feel like they did so much of us trying to make a pretzel shape.
But it was because everybody did it.
Maybe we were fine, yeah.
That was the thing.
I think if I hadn't done it before, it would have been some comical TV. But I was just like, well, I had worked it out, 6 months before, so I could replicate it.
But that's the thing, is that I think that
everyone's too good in this season. That is the problem with this season.
This is what we were sort of getting at last week, is that they're doing a lot of challenges so far that are designed, I think, to sort of go, oh, well, other seasons have struggled with this in other countries. And it's like, bang, not a problem. Bang, not a problem. Bang, not a problem. The quality has been what we asked for. Like what we always talk about is that idea of we don't want people to go home because they were terrible. We want people to go home because everyone was really good. Somebody has to go home, and we're really nitpicking. For example, their showstopper wasn't tall enough. And let's get to the showstopper not being tall enough, shall we?
Breaking my heart. It was so... The truth about that showstopper is that I make bread and I adore bread, and bread week is my favorite week on this show. And I never thought I would go during bread week, and that's the truth. That's why I was fine. I was having a great time until the end, and looked around at everyone else's showstoppers. And the what?
You didn't say this is going to be my week, did you? Like you held.
Oh no.
No, she's a veteran.
Also, I knew Larry was on. Like I knew it was going to be Larry's week. Larry and I have been interacting also on social media for many years. But I thought, like, I'll wander through in the middle of the pack and I'll get taken out in Cookie Week. that was my trajectory on this show.
Can I just say, I love that your planning involved getting yourself taken out in week 3, not week 2.
Well,
that's the optimist.
Yes, I'm a deep optimist. No, I mean, it's because I've always been terrified of Cookie Week, and I was terrified of Cookie Week, and funnily enough, as a result, came out with good plans for Cookie Week because I spent a lot of time worrying about Cookie Week. And I think with bread, I was like, I know how to make bread. This will be fine. Like, I have no time to come up with a new thing. So I'm just going to go with this thing I have, which is pretty good. And I could work on it more, but it's good enough. And on to the next thing. The planning for this show is like no experience I've had in my life. Like the prep for it is just unbelievable. If you have anything else going on in your life, you are going to be ruined by the
I love that you took the sporting team mistake approach, which was you looked past your current opponent. And you got to bread week and you're like, I don't need to worry about bread week. I've got to worry about Cookie Week. That's the opponent. That's the thing. And you look past that plucky little team that like can occasionally just do well.
I know, right?
Straight
like,
past.
well, there's always someone who never bakes bread who will be on the show. And I was like, okay, I know I really like my signature.
Yep.
And for the record, I stand by the green.
Mm-hmm.
There was some controversy about the green, but I think it's fine.
I'm 100% behind the green. I mean, and we're not biased in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But I do.
Well, you like the judges too, and so do I. But
yes.
I think the green was fine. It tasted really good. I was like, I'll probably get away with the technical because I've made lots of kinds of bread. And no, my showstopper is not perfect, but like I think I'll make it through. And I'm so panicked about Cookie Week.
Someone will have some bread that's under. Someone will underprove. It'll be great.
You know what? All those things were true, and I still win.
There you go.
I'm not saying that it was unfair. I'm not saying it was unfair that I left, but I was like, it'll be baked, and I will be fine. And I didn't count on everyone else being a superstar. And
it is legitimately the most conflicted week I think I've ever had watching Bake Off, because we got so super happy and excited when they got to the judging and said that Larry was star baker, and we're like, yeah, Larry, woo, Larry, woo, woo, woo. And then it's like, and going home, Anjali. And I literally stopped my cheering, looked at Kristie, and I went, no. And that is exactly, that's not a put on thing. I stopped and I looked at Kristie and I went, no.
Just heartbreaking, like just.
I hear you. It was really nice to listen to your commentary about that episode.
Because we were so ready for this big celebration and like, yay, Larry, and we've still got Anjali, we've still got Maggie, and yay, this is going really well. Because in our heads, and we love all the bakers, we legitimately love you all. But I mean, look, we've been interacting with you with Larry for a very long time now, and Maggie for a fairly long time too. So we're like, yay, a washing up grand final. It's ours. And then
until I got knocked out in Cookie Week.
Right? Yeah, but then we would have found out that Cookie Week was your plan all along, and we would have been fine with that.
We're like, okay. Yeah.
There would have been a lot less crying on my side if I had gone out.
It would have just been you going, what are you gonna do?
I'd have been like, well, fair enough. I don't make these.
I thought that was going to happen.
Yeah.
So did you think that having the lockdowns and like COVID and stuff gave you time to practice a bit more, or not really? Like, was
it did give a set of the bakers more time because several were laid off from their jobs, which no one wants.
No.
Obviously, it happened that they were all okay and they could bake all day. It happened that I defended my PhD 1 week before we started filming.
Oh no.
And I got a new job 1 week before finding out we were on the show. Right. And so was working, prepping the defense, and then baking sort of from 5 p.m. until the middle of the night. But, every single recipe takes a huge amount of planning, grocery shopping, doing, writing, photographing, and washing of dishes. So really I could only do each of them once, maybe twice and it was a wild time. And it was when the weather was nice, and I kept having to say to friends like, no, I can't hang in this park with you. I'm so busy with work and the PhD. And they believed me because that was already enough.
I was about to say,
also, you're baking all day.
Good cover.
I was about to say, because it's not like your life outside of Bake Off is anything really serious and like ultra time consuming that's going to take up all that extra time, and we'll get to that because we really do want to talk that too, obviously.
We're going to get it to it now or when?
We'll talk about it after we do bread week, after we do cake week.
All right.
So cake week. Now, obviously, cake week is always look. It's usually the first week. It's usually, not always. Occasionally they'll screw with people and not do that. That's nasty when they do that, by the way. So
yeah, cake week is a good first week, I think.
It's always, although it always worries me when you get someone walking to Cake Week who goes, I don't really make cakes. And I'm like, you're on Bake Off. Like, you should. Vaguely, like, cakes are the one thing you probably should be able to do. You're going, it's a guarantee. Like, it's coming.
Yeah.
Were you, like, the idea of the mirror glaze?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, on again, scale of 1 to 10, how terrifying is the idea of week 1? I'm doing mirror glaze.
So, mirror glaze I can live with.
Yes.
Cascade mirror glaze.
That's the issue.
The problem. It's a big problem.
Oh, yeah, if
it's over 1 tier.
If it's a single tier mirror glaze.
2, pushing it. 3, Jesus.
Yeah. I mean, my audition cake this year was mirror glazed.
Yeah.
I had just done it. And then they were like, you're on. And the first challenge is a cascade mirror glaze. And I was like, no problem. I just did mirror glaze. I will be fine. But I was doing mirror glaze on a mousse, which is the correct place to put a mirror glaze.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you put mirror glaze over buttercream?
Because it's going to be funnier when you show it on television. Because it's going to be buttercream.
And I'd also never made a tiered cake. I bake for the humans around me, not for weddings and.
Can I just say that is possibly the most logical point ever made on this podcast that no one thinks about. Multi-tiered cakes are not normal.
No. People of the world.
Like Maggie,
Oyax, a crew of them do it. They do sell cakes. They make gorgeous cakes. Everyone should be following everyone on Instagram. They're astounding. I don't do that stuff. Yeah, so I never tiered a cake, so I had to learn how to tier a cake. I had never spent that much attention trying to get my buttercream so smooth. I still cannot do this. There would be very, very funny outtakes of me trying to smooth that buttercream. The mirror glaze picks up, right, like every little divot. Tanner had a great tip, which I did use, which is just like do your best, freeze it, and then smooth it with your hands.
That's a smart move.
That is what I did.
The thing is, if you're at home,
I now need to see the outtakes of you just rubbing cake.
Yeah, all of this exists.
Oh, I hope so.
On a video.
I appreciate fans using it for her ASMR.
But anyhow, I don't really. I think mirror glaze looks cool. I think my mirror glaze, and you can sort of see this on the show. I wanted to do the thing, and it did obviously work in practice, where you make the web effect.
Yes.
On the top. So I wanted to have like the red and yellow web, like a fire.
Yeah.
And I did it, and then it just sort of globbed down the side of the cake. Like ketchup and mustard. That's what it looks like. If you pause that moment, it looks like ketchup and mustard running down the side of the cake. So then I was like, oh my God, gold leaf, and just covered it with gold leaf. And that is why there is so much gold.
That's a veteran move. But
yeah, I got
like, if you, as I said before, if you're at home and you make cakes, think about the last time where you weren't cooking for like a banquet or some fancy occasion that you made anything that wasn't single tier. Like, think logically about this, because the answer is you don't. And therefore, like, you're going, oh, the mirror glaze to cascade effect. Oh, that's pretty straightforward. No, really not.
Try it, world. Try it.
Yeah,
it does not look great.
Post your results.
You could just make cupcakes or friands and just stack them up against each other.
A friand
so many
tower.
other options.
The traditional dressing on a friand is mirror glaze. So,
but you did, however, come up with the flavor sensation of the whole showstopper there with the pepper and the. So
Actually, I love that. And it's
no.
so easy. You just grind pepper into your buttercream. It tastes great. It's weirdly great.
Did you pick it up from anywhere? Did you just?
I actually don't have the slightest idea how I came up with that. But I don't know. There's been a lot of black pepper. It must be a thing right now. Like Oyak's had black pepper, and someone just had it in Cookie Week too.
Yeah.
So there must be a thing in the air.
Welcome to the food trend. Now, again, how daunting is it when you finish something like a multi-tiered, mirror glaze, and then you look around the pavilion, and you're looking, and look, you were in there with Oyax's gold, which just
Oyax was right behind me.
He
I ate
like
a
he
little
printed
bit
it.
of that cake. I snuck a little bit of an offcut. It was delicious. I mean, that's the only thing I ate from the tent, by the way. We didn't. But I was like, yoink. Yeah, Maggie's. I mean, partly it was just like they were huge. They were way bigger than mine. Sheldon's would have been truly massive and magnificent. He did a really good save.
Yeah.
But like if he had pulled off what he had planned, like this cake was like, I mean, this is just gigantic. And I was like, I made 3 tiers, but my tiers are still little. Like it was really intimidating.
Funnily enough, it ended up being foreshadowing. I made the tiers, they're just not high enough.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny to think, like, I've seen this show every year. I've seen every episode of British. I've seen every episode of Australian. I even, watch New Zealand. I watch Irish. Like,
we didn't even do that.
I know you have feelings about New Zealand, and to be honest, I think Irish is kind of the same. But I think, I really know this show.
Yeah.
And yet in life, I don't make showstoppers. No. So I just don't know how to... I just don't know how to do a showstopper, but I do now for when you have me back for Christmas special, y'all.
Exactly. Or the Easter special.
Whatever special we come up with.
Easter special. Yeah.
I'm just imagining like the technical. I mean, you'd think it'd be hot cross buns. I'd like to think that they do the showstopper as hot cross buns, and you have to do a 3-tiered hot cross bun.
Giant hot cross buns. Yeah. Like if I am back on this show, I'm just going to be like, make it huge. The showstopper is just gonna be epic.
Yeah. So. When you saw Sheldon's cookies last week, he just went, "Oh, Anjali's weren't big enough last week. I just need to make them huge."
Sheldon designed a 3-part cookie cutter. That guy's amazing. That was wild.
There's a lot going on there. So we need to dive in because we were joking. I was joking around before about you don't do anything outside of Bake Off, and that's obviously. You had plenty of time. I just want to, for people who have not checked it out, you need to read Anjali's Twitter header, right? It is interim ED and toxics campaigner at Cape Doctors, and we'll talk about them in a minute. PhD, baker, doula, occasional cello player, musical theatre sing-along hoster. Now, there are so many avenues to get into and so many reasons why we get along so well. Let's go backwards. Musical theatre sing-along leader.
Yes.
Cello player.
When and how.
Yes.
When and how, and what role would you like in our musical that we're going to eventually write for this with,
So, in brief, because we could all talk about these for a long time, the musical theater sing-along hosting came about because I spent a couple years living in New York. Mm-hmm. There's the most wonderful place in the world, Marie's Crisis, which you maybe know about. A sing-along, all Broadway sing-along piano bar.
Yep.
Everyone should go. It's the best. And I used to go quite a lot when I lived in New York, and then I moved to Toronto and discovered there was no Marie's Crisis here. But I, fortunately, used to stage manage musicals in undergrad. And everyone from my undergrad moves to Toronto. So I had a built-in group of ready singers and started hosting musical theater sing-along. So I only host. Like, there's a pianist. My friend Sherry plays the piano. There's a whole bunch of singers. I obviously sing, but I'm not a singer. But it sounds wonderful because of all the singers.
Yeah.
And I put up the twinkly lights and we have a blast. So my birthdays and a couple of other times a year.
Do you do it at a venue or is it just,
No, I do it in my home.
Oh, lovely.
And to follow that up then, we didn't get enough, and this is what I'm disappointed in personally, we didn't get enough cello.
So it is funny that you really couldn't hear us at all in that clip. I would say I'm again like just generalists among us, many things non-expertly. I played cello through the end of high school and then didn't play for 15 years.
Did you play the Angel theme? Like,
did I what?
The theme from Angel, the Buffy spin-off?
Oh, I never watched Angel.
Oh, okay. The opening was a cello.
Is it cello heavy?
Yeah.
I mean, I think the cello is a beautiful instrument. I'm a very mediocre cellist, but I think it's really fun. Mm-hmm. And we sounded okay, the three of us, me, Marie, and Olga. But I guess not good enough to actually.
Not enough to be listening to the score, and I'm like, oh, we're gonna get to hit. Nope. No.
In defense, though, Anjali, is I think that these days there's too much emphasis put on like either being perfect at something or like monetizing something that you enjoy doing, and I think that's just bullshit. And I think
I love a dabble.
Yes, dabble.
Yes. Yes. I think I love music and I love to be part of musical spaces, but I'm not going to sit at home and practice the instrument. So I could be in the orchestra I was in because I was just like the cello at the very back with my friends who carried it, and I'd play and feel wonderful about being part of the music. And I think that was great.
I liked my role in the folk band. I was the percussionist and like the drummer. So, and I could just show up.
I did moonlight as percussion in the orchestra because I was in an activist drumming band at the time.
Yeah, well. and let's get to that bit because that's the bit I really want to get into. So for those people who are worried that seasons of all these shows might be too covered in snowflakes, turn off now, you snowflake, because we're going to talk about it. Yes. So obviously, Cape Doctors, discuss.
Yeah, so Cape is the job that I got 1 week before being told I was on the show. Mm-hmm. So that was a wild ride, and they were very kind to let me take a leave very soon after I started. But I started working as the Toxics campaigner, so working for legislative reform on a very old Toxics Act, 20 years old and 20 years out of date at this point in Canada. And in particular, like there's a lot of exciting things that would come in this reform, but some basic stuff that you think like, should we consider people at different life stages need different consideration for toxics exposures? That's not in there. Or people who work in places like nail salons or firefighters who have higher exposures, should we consider it that? That's not in there. So there's lots of complicated things. I've actually learned a lot, but still a long way to go learning about toxics and the act. But there's a push for reform, and fingers crossed, we may actually move towards it this year. It was promised in the throne speech. You never know; it could happen.
Yeah, it's so important. Like, because I work with people with motor neurone disease, and while there's no conclusive evidence, there's a lot of anecdotal evidence that people that work around like heavy chemicals and heavy metals, like people who've been in the army or in the building industry, there's a huge prevalence of them. Perfectly fit, healthy adults suddenly developing motor neurone disease. So whether it's an exposure to something that triggers something, there's still research. Yeah. So
it's actually it really is about justice. It's really about environmental justice and the ways that racism and anti-Indigenous processes have played out in Canada and elsewhere in the world, obviously. But Canada is we are behind. Actually, we don't compare to Australia that often, but the US is stronger, the EU is stronger. This has just been neglected here for a long time.
Look, just, don't compare to Australia because you look really good, quite frankly.
You do have some problems over there with political issues.
This week's been quite problematic. So incredibly problematic this week.
Let's just say we think women will bring down this current government because the rage is real.
I believe that you will.
Yeah.
And then since I came to Cape, our ED went on leave, and so I became the interim director. So I know I also work on climate and everything else that we do. Active transportation, this and that.
So you've managed to get a new job, take leave, and get promoted.
I know, this is the magic of working at a tiny place when there are no other humans to promote. It's also my third interim ED gig, so I think there's something going on here.
And I mean, look, with the experiences that you've had inside the pavilion, obviously with different temperatures and things like that, you are perfectly suited to talk about climate and the importance of climate. I think the best way to describe the issues of climate change to people who don't necessarily want to hear about it is think about a Miraglaze. Now, if you're trying to set buttercream,
tempering ruby chocolate, when the temperature in the room is hotter than the temperature you need to make the chocolate.
Imagine needing to get into the proofing drawer for a bit of a rest.
For people who can't empathize with polar bears and their plight, maybe they'll empathize with chocolatiers who can no longer temper their chocolate properly.
That's right. It's just too hot to temperature. You can't drop it down to 80 because there is no 80.
How do you expect to chill your butter for pastries? There goes your croissant.
Yeah, you want a croissant? You can't have a croissant. We cannot have chilled butter anymore.
This will bring people on board, I think.
I think there's a campaign for you, and we're more than happy to get behind that campaign.
And we'll add it to the Pride float.
We'll add it to the Pride float. Yeah, that can be really cool.
Yeah, totally in. I also am in an all Dolly Parton Pride choir.
Oh,
okay. Dress up as Dolly Parton and sing all Dolly songs. It's called Night of 1,000 Dollies. My friend Lauren runs it.
I want to move to Canada just for this. Okay.
This is the greatest thing ever.
It is. Look up Steers and Queers, Night of 1,000 Dollies. It's amazing. There is internet evidence, and I think it's 11 or 12 years now she's been doing it. Obviously not last summer, not this summer, but every other.
I've got it. I've got it. This is superb.
Yeah.
This is superb. Okay, look up $9,000, guys. Oh, this is brilliant. This is
Stop looking at the Instagram. It's not good for podcasting.
It's good for me. That's all I care about. It's good. Good. That's fantastic. Because I mean, like you said last night,
Anjali like she should have treated Bread Week.
Don't past it. Well done. No, so
we can laugh now, but we cried a lot.
But last night, obviously,
mopping up tears with flatbread.
But last night, obviously, in Australia was Mardi Gras as well, so that sort of ties in quite nicely because they still held it, not parading through the streets like they normally would. They did it at one of the sporting venues, which seemed weird to me.
You're saying last night was Mardi Gras?
Yeah, the gay and lesbian Mardi Gras in Sydney, the big one, the big international.
Because I was like, Mardi Gras was a couple of weeks back.
Oh, maybe that's a New Orleans one. Oh, it starts, so they have like a bit of a lead up to it. So usually when there's no COVID, there'd be like different events. So like you'll have the Mardi Gras Film Festival, you'll have Fair Day. Usually there's a big like swimming pool party and different events that go on. Then it all culminates in the parade.
This year it all just fit in like one day.
Yeah.
Because they didn't host any other events.
Giant day.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, very cool.
But they had to do it like a sporting event.
It was weird because like they can't have full stadiums for sporting events, but they then ran Mardi Gras in a sports stadium instead of running it through the streets as a parade, which was interesting.
Right.
So, but it was absolutely fantastic, and
Rita Ora came out. She quarantined for a while and was amazing. So
did you go?
No, I was offered tickets, but too many people. I just can't.
Too many people.
Yeah, it's one of those things where even though, as I said, we've been incredibly fortunate in terms of in Australia with regards to COVID, it's still tricky, and it's still like you still spend a lot of time being very cautious and very careful because, as we've all seen globally, it only takes one breach and one sort of moment, and it takes off again.
Well, from my and from my perspective, like I've been working from home. I've got people issues anyway, but it's just heightened them. So that whole rehabilitation of going out into society and stuff, I think it's going to be a long process for everyone as we readjust. Like even when vaccines are rolled out and you start interacting again. That's my whole thing. But yeah, I just don't do crowds anymore. Like in my 20s, not a
Yeah.
problem. I'd go to Mardi Gras, wave at my teachers on the floats.
I mean, rest happy in the idea that the last big crowd that you did was Lizzo.
Yes.
Oh, well, nicely done.
Fuck yeah.
See, I made a terrible mistake, and my birthday's in December, so I could, in 2019, have had the sing-along party. But I was like, I'm almost done the PhD. I got to get the PhD done. Got to get it done. And I thought it would be 3 months. It obviously was 6 more months of writing. But I was like, the second it's done, I'll have the party. And then in March, there were no parties for the rest of time. So
Like,
I
it's
didn't
literally
even get
this
to
week.
do my final.
It's literally this week in Australia is the anniversary of the first lot of panic buying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here too for sure.
This is
Next
when
week.
toilet paper just.
This is where toilet paper and pasta sauce.
Here from our lives.
Yeah, toilet paper and pasta sauce.
Strange year. An undeniably strange year. I think we've learned about ourselves.
What we've learned about
But I
ourselves
think
is
we were so lucky. Like, as much as I wish to have done the show in a non-COVID year, hugged everybody, eaten all the food, seen the faces of some of the people who were around, whose faces I've like never seen. The culinary folk, like I don't know what they look like. There is something so great about being able to sort of exit your day-to-day computer grind. Like for me, I'm working from home, I'm fine, whatever. I don't see anyone other than my partner and my neighbors, and just being able to go and be around people and like be in this great place for, however long it was for each of us was actually a real gift. So I think they should have us back, all 10 of us back in non-COVID time for like one weekend, just to like eat and hug and do some bakes and, be next to each other.
Show camp, like just get together, set up tents with ovens and benches and just.
Oh, look, if they won't do it, I mean, I think we get together with maybe Canadian Takeoff, and like together the two of us host the camp.
Yeah.
I think that could be great.
Yes, we'll just start a fundraiser for it. A big bake sale.
Yes, we can sell off the extras.
Yeah.
We'll all make 3-tiered cakes. There'll be plenty.
Everything's 3-tiered, whether it's pretzels, 3-tiered pretzels.
Everything's a showstopper.
Strip waffles.
We'll get Larry to build shelves.
Yeah, and he will.
Oh, he's probably got them.
Yeah.
Like, I just knocked these up.
He made us all cookbook holders. Like we all each have one. It's big. It's like, I was like, you brought all of this from Edmonton? He's amazing.
Yeah, but he probably also built the trailer that like carried it all. So
I know. I was like, I don't even know how a person travels with this amount of like wood.
Giza is just pulling it all along. Like, just what else do you have to pull it?
Dog.
Makes absolutely perfect sense. No, it was a genuine joy and delight to get to actually finally see you in there. We know personally how long you've been trying to get on. So for us, it was absolutely fantastic to get to see you get on the show, finally get in there, finally get to sort of show, Canada and, let's face it, the world that you can, do this sort of stuff. And it was really
the Commonwealth.
Yeah, the Commonwealth at the very least. And show everyone else what you're capable of doing. So it was a genuine, joyous moment. Obviously, we wish it at least lasted one more week till your designated leaving time. But obviously, fantastic to see you in there. Thank you so much.
It was so nice to meet you, Beth.
Would you like to plug your Insta or anything like that?
I mean, do follow my Insta. It's Anjali H. And if you're a physician, please join CAPE. We do good work for the environment. And I think you've, other than that, you've covered the bases. But
that's really good. We do good work for the environment. That's it.
We do. We really do. If you're a physician and you're like, I really care about climate change and I don't know what to do, we gotcha. We do it and we'll direct you how to do it. So
that feels like another poster. We gotcha. Like
you're more powerful than you think, physicians.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I think they're powerful.
Well, especially in these times, definitely more so than ever.
Yeah. Physicians going out saying shut down the coal plants in Ontario had a big part in that. And there's a real power in that voice. That's what drew me to Cape, and that's why I'm excited to keep working there. So Insta, Twitter for a mix of climate, toxics, and baking.
Mm-hmm.
It's all
what
there.
What more could you want, people?
Oh, one last question. Are you issued a cape when you start working Cape? Because what's the...
I am going to start issuing people a cape. I think that should be that's a really important component of our. I'll start sewing as well.
Excellent.
You're welcome. You're welcome for that concept. Anyway, until next time, I'm still Chris.
And I'm still Kristie.
And we will catch you all later.
Work it, bacon 9 to 5.